they've got, you know, 2 past Olympia champions and like 3 Arnold champions. Obviously, if you're going to go bigger glutes, you have to balance it out, and it's always about symmetry. Beauty is a huge aspect to it, so you have to be made up from the top down, you know, make sure hair, makeup, suit, everything lines up, and then it's also skin. I'm so excited. I wish that we could have everybody in the expo, everyone in the audience. I mean, again, we don't know what's going on, but I just want to say thank you to everybody for all of their support. I mean, obviously you want to beat everybody at their best, but I think at least for me, I want to be beating my best. So, or where I was last year at the Olympia, and you know, get the feedback from the judges that I had at the Olympia and make those changes in the off season so that when I hit the stage, you know, in 3 days, that they're gonna see those changes that are made. It's always fuller glutes. For me, at least for me, fuller, rounder glutes, and then, you know, a little bit more balance up top as far as like the shoulder goes. Because obviously if you're gonna go bigger glutes, you have to balance it out, and it's always about symmetry. So you can't have big glutes and not have anything up top. It's kind of a little bit of both, but you know, you wanna keep the feminine physique. So for bikini, it's not necessarily the most shredded girl out there. It's, you know, you wanna have really nice balanced muscle tone, but you don't want to have separation within the muscle. You just want to have separation of the muscle groups. They don't want to see super vascular, super dry. So it's just a very healthy physique with a good amount of muscle and balance. And then, you know, obviously for a bikini, a big thing for us is glutes. So it's well-rounded glutes. You don't necessarily have to have a really sharp separation between the glutes and the hamstrings, but there needs to be some kind of definition between the glutes and the hamstrings. Beauty is a huge aspect to it, so you have to be made up from the top down, you know, make sure hair, makeup, suit, everything lines up, and then it's also skin. Like, you have to have healthy, glowing skin. Any normal day, we're in the gym, you know, sometimes twice a day, we're wearing workout clothes all the time, you know, like, so to just slow down, especially that morning of the show, and get glammed up, have your hair done, makeup done, because by the time you're dieting and your face is sunken in, you kind of look a little like, I need a cheeseburger or like 5. So it's nice when you can just have them, you know, give you a little bit more glow and more makeup than you normally would, and then show off all your hard work on stage. So that's my favorite part, because you've worked this hard, now you get to display all of your hard work on stage. The coronavirus. It is definitely a different feel. Like, getting off the plane is a different feel. Usually it's crowded, it's crazy. Like, my plane was maybe half full. Normally it's filled with people that I actually know from my hometown, and they're all going to the Arnold, whether they're working the booth at the expo or just going as a spectator. It's just like a very eerie quiet, like no traffic. There's no hustle and bustle down in the hotel lobby. When I checked in, I went right up to the check-in counter. So the energy is definitely like flat. And for me, I'm big on energy, so not having that like crazy buzz that's going on downstairs and you kind of feed off of it, it's definitely different. So you almost have to grab that energy from within yourself and, you know, figure out that excitement, because we don't even really know what's going on. We don't know if they're going to have people come to the prejudging, you know, everything's just up in the air. So we're just hoping that we get a little bit more clarity coming into the athlete meeting tomorrow. But yeah, the energy is like different. It's eerie. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, you know, obviously you want, like, as you're training, you want your weights to go up. You want to see improvements in, you know, if it's reps going up, because as far as like the way that I train, I don't just say like, hey, I'm always going to go weights up. You know, you want reps, weights. A lot of times, like, I will do a mix of things. just to make sure that you're switching things up, because your body's going to get used to it. But yeah, like you want to make sure until a certain point, you're still progressing weight-wise. If you're doing certain lifts, that you're measuring your progression. But obviously, like for me, it's usually about 3 weeks out, you start seeing strength go and you have to reel it back and focus more on time under tension, and you might be going more high volume than heavier weight, just because as your body depletes, as you lose body fat and glycogen reserves, you just don't have the energy for the kind of lifts that you're doing earlier on prep. It can get stressful. A lot of times it's not that I forget that, it's like you just get so focused on the competition, like you forget, like, oh my gosh, I'm one of the top pros in the world. You just try to make it as comfortable as possible when you're competing. For me, I like the comforts of home. I like to be feeling like I'm not sitting in a hotel room for 5 days, like waiting for this competition. So, I do bring work with me. I bring my laptop with me. I have fuzzy slippers. They're in my suitcase. Like I bring my foam roller. I find ways to pass time. But, the more you can feel relaxed and at ease in an environment which is not your normal home environment, which is really important for your training, your nutrition, everything, your psyche, your body, the more I can make it feel like home is the more that my body can calm down, my mind can calm down, and just focus on what I'm here to do. Well, what we also take into account from the Olympia versus the Arnold are the stage lights. They're completely different. So, with especially like working with a coach, and hopefully you work with a coach that knows and is familiar with each of these stages. With Olympia, prejudging, perfect example. Those lights are super bright. So if you come in like way too sharp, it actually is friendly for you, because they don't want to see, separate. One of the problems that I had as a competitor is I was having separation between the quads when I was walking up into the box. And I would get really nervous when the lighting would be very dim, because then it would show the separation and the cuts a little bit more than like head-on bright lights. So, the Arnold stage is a little bit darker, and the lights are set like further away from the competitors. We're also on like a little like podium. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like this narrow. So, knowing your stage, knowing your lighting. So for me, like, we'll just make sure that I don't come in insanely sharp, because that's, again, a problem that I have is I come in, too shredded. They don't like using that word, but like too detailed in the quads, where I have to find a different way of walking on stage, lighter walking, or I have to twist my body a certain way so I'm not front facing them, that they can see my quads. And it's really nice to do the Arnold, walk straight in like you do the Olympia. You kind of walk in from the side. So even if I am a little bit too sharp, we can hide the quads. No, I honestly don't have a lot of cardio. I am very blessed that I had a really productive off season. So going into prep, I had higher calories. My cardio is like very, very minimal. It was like 20 minutes, 4 to 5 days a week, if I felt like it, kind of thing. So like today I lifted before I got on the plane. I did like an upper body lift, and I've got 30 minutes of cardio once I'm done with this interview. And then tomorrow I have no lifting, 25 minutes of cardio. And depending on how I look, I might have like light cardio just to get my body moving and get the food processing Friday morning. But at this point, everything, I always say, like, the turkey's cooked. There's not too much you can do as far as a physique standpoint, and sometimes if you go too hard, you can actually create more inflammation, more water coming in, and you might not look how you should look on stage. So I actually like reel back the training, reel back everything. Diet doesn't change too much. Like, I probably will eat the same thing the next couple days. I might even have more carbs tomorrow, maybe to fill out a little bit. But what's nice is that if you're doing all the right things throughout prep and you're ready at the right time, you won't really have to change too much going into peak week. Not all these crazy measures of depleting and this, that, and the other. Like I don't do well with depleting. My body doesn't do well with depleting, and just kind of maintaining everything. Still drinking water. Still using my seasonings. I'll be eating Lucky Charms backstage for pump up and mango slices. So yeah, so I have all my seasonings. I don't travel without it. And like I said, Lucky Charms on high carb day. I'll probably have a high carb, like more higher carbs tomorrow. And like I eat all the same foods that I would normally eat at home. Ah, I'm so excited. I wish that we could have everybody in the expo, everyone in the audience. I mean, again, we don't know what's going on, but I just want to say thank you to everybody for all of their support. Thank you to Better Bodies for always making sure I have the coolest clothes on, and Mo for taking care of me. And, you know, this is such an amazing sport. I've been in this sport now for over 7 years. I don't know if I'm ever going to get tired of it, but it's just the support that you get from like followers, friends, family, and the pride that you feel that you can change your body and reach certain goals and just like show it off on stage. It's just like it's unlike any other sport out there, and it's such an individual sport, but they don't realize like there's so much behind like the individual itself to have that support to be able to hit that stage confidently.